Hey y'all, thanks for tuning back into the stream. Oof, that's the front facing camera, you can't see me, too dark. So anyways, I felt like I had to go live. I had to make this video right now. Even though it's dark, even though it's raining. Because I felt like I had something that I really needed to say, that I didn't want to wait. It's about an old friend of mine. His name was Rick, and he passed away. This was a couple of years ago, and I don't think I ever really, other than just like holding on to it inside, I never really like talked about it or thought about it or really wanted to think about it. I probably have thought about it a lot, to be honest, but I've never really done anything about anything that I thought. And basically, like, I've at times kind of thought that, like, my friend Rick was, like, murdered. And there was, like, a plan to commit insurance fraud. So have the man be murdered so that some beneficiaries can claim his health insurance. But honestly, I don't have any proof or anything. It's just speculation. And I would say it doesn't even really stop there. That already sounds like a somewhat outlandish, thought to entertain. I've kind of thought that it even goes further, that everything I just said was true. There was this, fraud set up to, claim insurance. But going even further than that, there was also, I guess I would say like a test involved, so that some of the people that I was hanging out with at the time, they wanted to test whether I would pick up on this fraud, and they wanted to test how I would react and how I would participate or respond. And honestly, I feel like I did kind of perceive it as, like I was saying, like I kind of thought that this was like something fishy was going on. But also that, I chose not to participate, right? In a sense. I guess, should I get into the detail? Maybe not. I'm not sure it's relevant. But I remember before he died, he himself made it very clear to me that it was his intention for me to be a beneficiary of, like I was saying, like this insurance thing. He said, it seemed like he had the idea in his mind that he was going to be passing away soon. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if he was in bad health or something like that. But if he was, apparently it may not have had much to do with how he died, because it sounded like he just died in a car accident. Not that he was even, wrecked his car or was a passenger or something, but literally someone hit him with their car and, drove away. And that's kind of what makes me think, there was some fraud or something fishy, or it was a murder. He was hit by someone else's car. Someone hit him with their car. And, the whole thing was just fishy and weird. What was I saying about the tests? Basically, the test was would I be tempted to participate and basically play my role as being the one who files the claim for the payout. I seem to get the impression that that's what everyone wanted me to do. There was this sort of like long pretense of like, he and I were like seen in public spending time together for a month or for 2 months. Not a very long amount of time though. I didn't know this man very long. This friend of mine. I only knew him for a few weeks. So basically, you could say basically like right after I met him, he died. Like I only knew him for like a month or two. It's not like we were really close friends or really long friends. Like in some sense, I more or less felt like he was kind of just like an acquaintance of mine or like someone I knew, or like for sure we spent some time together and like, but I don't like, yeah, I'm not sure I ever even knew his last name, like until I got the news that he died. And then like there was like news articles and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's his last name. I never even knew his last name. But anyways, and then so it was kind of like a test to see like, can I be motivated to like receive kind of some kind of payout, right? Like, will I play ball and, call the insurance company and be like, hi, I just want to check on claim number, blah, 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 for this poor person who accidentally passed away. And by the way, he wanted me to receive half. So anyways, I wasn't really interested in that. And honestly, I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I also kind of feel like, well, I could see right through that, and that was so obvious. And I kind of felt like cringe. I felt like it was obvious, it was cringe, it was sad, it was kind of pitiful. And I kind of feel like the so-called victim, right, the man who died, is like, let's not get into this, but yeah. So basically I'm watching this TV show on Netflix, and there's like a very similar plot that happens in the show, which then like reminded me of all this stuff that happened a few years ago that I never talked about. And I felt like I want to do that. Maybe I'm already making it like too much about me. If I really wanted to avenge his murder, or even just honor his sacrifice, maybe it'd be a little bit more about him, what I learned from him, what he taught me. But I think I'll just go with my gut. Actually, now that I think about it, I guess he and I really were friends. I've never really been great with friends. It's probably happened many times in my life, to be honest, that I had friends without appreciating it at the time. And then I only later, in hindsight, after the relationship ended, came to realize that we were friends. That was my friend. I guess I just always had like expectations that I was bringing into a friendship, sort of like a checklist of things that I felt like, these are required in order for this to be a friendship. And yeah, I didn't really leave room for like a spontaneous manifestation of friendship, right? Or I don't know, I was just too closely attached to my own identity that I was like wearing as a costume of like, and part of my identity, which is something that I wear, is something that is my costume that I use to like cope and to like comfort myself, is to think like, well, I'm just a misunderstood loner, but actually I'm really nice, and nobody knows it because nobody will give me a chance, but I know that I'm actually worth it. So then it's like, well, if somebody does realize that I'm really nice, and someone does give me a chance, and someone does agree that I'm worth it, I basically have to like jettison that whole identity that is like everything about me, like everything that I was clinging to. So in a weird sense, it's almost like a form of, this might be too strong of a word, but kind of like a form of suicide, right? Because that whole person that I was clinging to is like if I'm gonna actually accept your friendship, then I can't, these are like contradictory, I can't be that person and have friends that really appreciate me. It doesn't make sense. So which is more important to me? And anyways, I kind of wanted to keep going too. Some other things I've thought is that, like, this man didn't die. I mean, I never saw his body. Or, what should I say? Basically, like, a decoy died on his behalf. And then the coroner misidentified, like, a decoy as this person. And the real man here, I already said his name earlier, but, you know, the real Rick, he actually just, like, went somewhere else. And he's still alive, like, somewhere else. But, I don't know. There was a lot of weird things that happened. I remember literally, I think it was the day before he died. Like, straight up, like, maybe less than, like, 24 hours, right? Like, the previous evening before he passed, we were listening to music together. He fell asleep on my bed, and I didn't really want to, like, lay in bed with him, together in bed with him. So I just left, and I went across the hall. And I figured, oh, he'll just take a nap. Like, he fell asleep on my bed. He'll take a nap and he'll wake up later. I'll see him later. But I remember thinking, like, having this really, really, really strong inner locution, like a voice in my head, straight up telling me in English, like, he's gonna, not that he's gonna die, but he's gonna go to heaven. Like, he's gonna go to heaven, or he's about to go to heaven, or he's going to heaven, or he's like, I don't know, he's gonna die and go to heaven. And then literally the next day, I found out that he died. Like, I heard that he died. And I thought, that's weird. It's almost like he knew. Like, the fact that he was even mentioning, like, his wishes for after he passed, and how he wanted me to participate, and like I was saying, like, his insurance, be a beneficiary of his insurance. I did kind of feel like, I mean, sure, it's one thing for someone to think that way if they're, like, really old, like, in their, like, I don't know, like, just, like, about to die, or, like, really sick or really old. And it was like, he was older than me, but I didn't think he was in, like imminent death territory, you know what I mean? It's the kind of thing where, like, I don't really know how old he was, but I got the feeling that, like, well, he might be thinking that this is going to happen soon, but, like, he might feel like it's going to happen soon, or I don't know. I just feel like, but he's not, you're not going to pass away for, like, another, like, 10 years at least. Like, you're old, but you're not, like, that old. Like, but no, he actually died the very next day. So I kind of wonder, like, just, like, what all happened. So yeah, I kind of feel like he knew. I kind of feel like, I mean, I like to imagine, maybe I don't like to imagine, but I feel drawn to considering just, like, different possibilities, like,